I think you intuitively felt my next question on it, because it was about expectation. So many of us have these expectations of what our parents should be, and not the realistic outcome, or understanding that our parents are people who have their own challenges, are not perfect. Also had parents that probably were, did things that may have screwed them up a bit, and they're trying their best. But, what I appreciated in the book is talking about the expectation energy as something that can destroy hope, happiness, health. Can you go into that? Because I feel like that is a big part of why so many of us are unhappy. We have expectations in life, in outcomes, in people around us that we don't meet those expectations. And then we become dejected, we fall, below, we get depressed. So talk about expectation energy as one of these kind of three negative energies in a sense, and what we can do to turn that around or release our expectations altogether.
Okay. And I'm also going to separate it out to where we have expectations and we have expectations made for us and to us,
yeah,
right?
On us. Yeah.
We have two separate things that we're working with. Well, I've had to learn this the hard way, if I can be honest with you. I've had to learn this the hard way, especially with my first child, because I had expectations of what I wanted that to look like, meaning what her life should look like. Now, I said should. I shouldn't have said that, but that's a very natural thing for me. So when I talk about these things, I am in my own life working through it, even today. And this is what I'm talking about with awareness. Even though we know that we shouldn't have expectations, we may, and it may take years to stay in awareness every day with that person that we love or that we want to have a relationship with, right? So the expectation of what I'll use my daughter as an example. The expectation that I had of her growing up, I want you to speak 3 languages. I want you to be at the best school. I want you, right. Now, why is that? I don't know, because I think it's important. She didn't want to learn Japanese. She didn't want to learn French. She did go to the lessons. She did go to the tutor. She did have a tutor. She did it. But the engagement that we had together over it wasn't happy. It wasn't happy. And so what I learned with my second child is, you don't want to learn Italian? That's fine. Because, right? So expectation from my perspective is when we expect something out of someone that we care for or love or respect or admire, we have just knocked them down because we're not staying in what they want. We're not appreciating and enjoying and loving and honoring. And I don't use that word lightly. I mean, truly honoring what that human spirit is here to do. Maybe she didn't want to learn those languages, right? She wanted to focus on something else. Well, not in my house. It wasn't actually like that, but that's how sometimes we can act, right? And so as time went by, it took me a very long time until I said, okay, just forget it. Well, wait a minute. Was that loving? I was tired and I just didn't want to give any more energy to it. How did that make her feel? That she wasn't capable, that she wasn't good enough, right? And I'm using my own family as an example because it's so often that we want to make it seem as though we're perfect or that we've done everything right. And that's why we can talk about it, in a book or in an environment or a workshop. The fact is, the minute that I decided that she was okay, the joy that she had in her face, the fun that we had, the humor we had, the love that was different because it was from my heart to her heart and she was okay, it changed the dynamic. It also changed the way she lives her life with her child. It changed the dynamic with how I raised my son. And it also changed the way I see myself in the expectation that my children have of me. Now that's hard. Do you have children?
I don't know.
That's very hard because children have expectations we just talked about with their parents. You need to be this. You should be dressing like this. What about this? What about this? Are you going to do this? I was so overwhelmed with trying to jump through all those hoops to be whatever that was, with their imagination of what it was going to be like to be perfect. And so I had the double-edged sword. And until I stopped my expectation, now, I didn't say just do whatever the hell you want. Oh, no. But I did loosen the reins to understand what they are like as human beings so that I could then support them in a loving way, in an openness that they felt like, oh my God, my mom's on board, right? I had to say the same to them, but it took years. Please don't say that to me. Please don't make it seem as though I'm not doing the right job or I'm not capable. I mean, that's the worst thing you can feel, is that your child thinks that you're not capable, right? And so hope, health, happiness, the expectation, this is the part that's very important. The expectation for us is that we lose out on seeing that person for who they really are and enjoying those memories in life. No one is going to do everything and have the expectation, living up to the expectation that we believe. No one. It's not going to happen. Not even ourselves, because we fall down. So the sooner that we realize that the expectation should be reduced and then relieved altogether, we will then not have imbalances in our own self, and we will not create imbalances within their selves.
Yeah,
it's dangerous.
Oh, it is. And I feel like many of us live with such high, not even hopes, I should, but these expectations of what life will be. Well, and it seems that that comes from a state and a conscious level of desire, of something a little bit lower, where if we elevated that to just unconditional love, to this openness of whatever happens, say la vie, and just living that way, will be much happier. And anything that comes to us will be more in alignment with us, and we'll be very gracious with it, with our lives. And it won't feel so, I think, abrupt and kind of against the stream, like you're all swimming uphill with this. And the expectation was this, I'm not here yet. Oh no. As opposed to, I think it's a wonderful thing to just live your life kind of free. Sometimes we say people like that are just lost and don't have, a plan for themselves. I mean, everyone, even with a plan, usually doesn't go according to it. You could have goals, right? That's different than expectations, I believe.
Absolutely. Exactly. And you can see the look on someone's face when we've let them down or they've let us down. It's painful, and it causes illness. It causes us to not want to go down whatever road that was, because we're in fear now that we're not going to be accepted. We're not going to be loved. We're not going to be cared for. And what are we hurrying for? I mean, we talked about that earlier with the technology. It's like instant. It's a way of life that you choose or you reject. You live in consciousness, you live in awareness, you live in a way that you can enjoy your environment without the expectation, or you don't. And the ones that don't, I think, are much more prevalent than the ones that do. Because illness wouldn't be in the billions if it were the other way.
This is true. And trending in the wrong way still.
Yeah, and the expectation is the stomach. It's the stomach and the heart, right? Because we're not good enough. And in your business, I'm sure you know just the level of what degree, and this I'll just touch on, and then we don't need to discuss it. The level of medication in the United States for blood pressure, anxiety, bipolar is astronomical. Mm-hmm. And then the medication for ADD and ADHD for young children. It's just unheard of, right? So for some reason, whether it's family, career, illness, whatever it might be, there is a magnitude of imbalance that is not being addressed with awareness and consciousness and understanding your sensory system so that you can navigate on your own and try to break free from whatever is causing you high blood pressure, causing you anxiety, causing your mind. The bipolar, from what I understood with my practice of 20 years, I could see a person that had so much emotional charge that the mental capacity to handle the emotions collapsed. So let's just say the vagus nerve was running, and all of a sudden, one more thing happened emotionally to that person. It's almost like those neurons popped. They just, hundreds of thousands just disintegrated. And so then the brain was not able to keep up with the emotions, right? So if we're able to access our sensory system and understand what it is, what we're capable of, how we were brought into this lifetime, we're able then to have control of how the sensory system is working when we start to feel uneasy.
And that brings us back to our more authentic and truthful self.